Have you ever felt like life is a constant test, one challenge after another, with no instructions on how to pass? Maybe you've faced setbacks that shook your confidence, relationships that tested your patience, or dreams that always seemed just out of reach. Yet, despite it all, you keep going. You endure. But here's something to consider. True strength isn't about never struggling. It's about how you face struggle. A strong mind doesn't crumble under pressure or seek escape in false hope. Instead, it adapts, perseveres, and finds clarity even in chaos. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. You don't control what happens, but you do control how you respond. And that response, your resilience, your discipline, your perspective, is what defines your inner strength. So, how do you know if you truly possess a strong mind? Sometimes the signs are subtle, hidden in the way you handle adversity, failure, and even success. In this video, we'll explore 7 key traits that reveal your true mental strength. You might just realize you're stronger than you think. Let's dive in. 1. You're in control of your emotions. Imagine this. It's a hectic morning at the office, and your inbox pings with an email from your boss. The words are sharp, unfairly critical of your latest work. Work you know was done well. A wave of frustration rises instantly. Your first instinct? To type a heated reply, defending yourself, maybe even throwing in a jab of your own. But instead, you pause. You take a breath. You let the emotions settle before you act. An hour later, you respond, not with anger, but with clarity. You calmly explain your reasoning, provide supporting evidence, and keep your tone professional. The result? Your boss acknowledges the misunderstanding and even appreciates your composed approach. This is what it means to be in control of your emotions. Stoicism doesn't teach us to suppress feelings, but to master them. Your emotions are signals, not commands. They inform you, but they should never dictate your actions. A weak mind reacts impulsively, giving in to fleeting feelings. A strong mind recognizes emotion, processes it, and then chooses the most effective response. And this control extends far beyond the workplace. Maybe a friend says something hurtful in the heat of an argument. Maybe a stranger on the internet provokes you with an unnecessary comment. Do you lash out immediately? Do you let their words shake your inner peace? Or do you step back, assess whether the situation is even worth your energy, and respond, if at all, with wisdom rather than impulse? Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wisdom is more relevant today than ever. The world is full of provocations, and it's easy to get caught up in emotions. But the truth is, no one can force you to react in anger, frustration, or sadness unless you allow it. Controlling your emotions doesn't mean ignoring them. It means understanding them, why they arise, what they signal, and whether acting on them serves your long-term goals. Anger might tell you that an injustice has occurred, but acting out in rage rarely corrects that injustice. Fear might warn you of danger, but letting it paralyze you only keeps you from growing. The key is to acknowledge emotions without being ruled by them. This kind of self-mastery takes practice. It's built in the small, everyday moments, when you choose patience instead of irritation, reason instead of reactivity. Over time, these small choices add up, shaping you into someone who remains steady no matter the storm. And that is true strength. So the next time you feel your emotions rising, take a breath. Give yourself space to think. And remember, The strongest minds are not the ones that never feel, but the ones that know how to feel without being controlled. 2. You know how to handle failure. Think back to a time when you wanted something deeply, a dream job, an important opportunity, a goal you poured your heart into. You gave it your best shot, but in the end, you faced rejection. No reply, no explanation, just silence. At that moment, you had two choices: let the disappointment consume you, or see it as a lesson. Instead of dwelling on frustration, you took a step back and asked yourself, what can I learn from this? Maybe your skills needed sharpening. Maybe your approach could be refined. So, instead of giving up, you signed up for a course, refined your resume, and kept applying. Weeks later, you landed an even better opportunity, one that fit your strengths and ambitions more perfectly than the first. Looking back, you realized that failure wasn't the end of the road. It was just a detour leading to something greater. Now, compare this to someone who experiences the same setback but reacts differently. A friend of yours applied for a similar job, got rejected, and immediately spiraled into self-doubt. Instead of learning and adapting, he told himself, maybe I'm just not good enough. His motivation crumbled. He settled for a job he didn't truly enjoy, not because he lacked potential, but because he let failure define him instead of using it to grow. This is where the philosophy of Stoicism offers profound wisdom. You cannot control whether you succeed on the first try, but you can always control how you respond to failure. Marcus Aurelius put it best: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Every obstacle holds within it the seed of progress, but only if you choose to see it that way. A strong mind understands that failure is never final. It is a test, a mirror reflecting where you can improve. When you stop seeing failure as proof of inadequacy and start seeing it as a necessary step toward mastery, you unlock an unshakable resilience. You train yourself to analyze mistakes, extract valuable lessons, and move forward with even greater determination. This mindset doesn't just help you progress, it strengthens your confidence. You no longer fear failure because you know that every setback is simply a setup for a stronger comeback. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you ask, "What can this teach me?" And that is the true hallmark of a strong mind, the ability to rise every time you fall, to transform obstacles into stepping stones, and to face adversity with a mindset that refuses to be broken. Failure doesn't define you, your response to it does. 3. You learn from your mistakes. Imagine a boy named Alex, eager to learn how to ride a bike. He watches others glide effortlessly down the street, and he can't wait to experience that same thrill. He hops onto the seat, grips the handlebars, and pushes off. For a few moments, everything seems fine, until he wobbles, loses balance, and crashes onto the pavement. His hands sting, his knees are scraped, and frustration sets in. At that moment, Alex faces a choice. He could walk away, telling himself that biking just isn't for him, or he could try to understand what went wrong. Instead of giving in to disappointment, he takes a deep breath and examines his fall. He realizes he was going too fast without properly balancing. So, he gets up, steadies himself, and tries again, this time focusing on maintaining control. He falls a few more times, but with each attempt, he learns something new. Eventually, his balance improves, his confidence grows, and before long he's riding through the neighborhood, feeling the wind on his face and the joy of success. Now compare this to his friend, Ryan. Ryan also wants to learn how to ride a bike, but after his first fall, he groans in pain and immediately gives up. He tells himself, maybe biking just isn't for me. Instead of analyzing what went wrong or making adjustments, he chooses to quit. While Alex is out exploring new streets on his bike, Ryan remains stuck, letting one mistake define his limits. This simple story reflects a fundamental truth about life. Those with strong minds don't fear mistakes. They learn from them. Stoic philosophy teaches that failure is not a sign of weakness, but an opportunity for growth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I will gladly change. For it is the truth I seek, and the truth never harmed anyone." The greatest obstacle to progress isn't failure itself. It's the refusal to learn from it. Think about how often people let mistakes hold them back. Maybe you made an embarrassing error at work and felt discouraged. Maybe you failed an important exam and convinced yourself you weren't smart enough. Maybe you tried to start a new habit but gave up the moment you slipped. The truth is, failure only becomes permanent if you refuse to grow from it. Admitting mistakes requires humility, but it's in that moment of self-reflection that real strength is built. Like Alex, when you take the time to analyze what went wrong and adjust your approach, you don't just correct the mistake, you build resilience, adaptability, and confidence. You develop a mindset that allows you to overcome not just one challenge, but every challenge life throws at you. The difference between Alex and Ryan isn't about talent or luck. It's about mindset. One sees failure as a lesson, the other as a dead end. And that choice makes all the difference. When you learn from your mistakes, you're not just fixing the past, you're preparing yourself for a stronger future. 4. You live life according to your values. Imagine this. You receive an incredible job offer from a prestigious company. The salary is more than you ever expected, the title commands respect, and the position promises status and recognition. On the surface, it seems like a golden opportunity. But there's a catch. Taking the job means sacrificing time with your family, abandoning your personal projects, and compromising your belief in work-life balance. Someone with a strong mind, like Daniel, wouldn't rush into the decision. He would pause and ask himself, does this truly align with my values? After careful reflection, he realizes that no amount of money or status is worth losing what truly matters to him. So, despite the temptation, he turns the offer down and instead chooses a career path that aligns with his principles, even if it doesn't bring immediate external validation. Now, compare this to someone like James, who also receives the same offer. But instead of thinking about his values, he is swept away by the promise of wealth and prestige. He takes the job partly out of fear of missing out, fear of being judged, fear of not living up to society's expectations. At first, everything seems fine, but over time he starts feeling drained and disconnected. The long hours take a toll on his relationships, and deep down, he realizes he has lost sight of what truly matters. He has built a life based on external pressures rather than internal principles. This is where Stoic philosophy offers powerful wisdom. True freedom lies in living according to your values, unshaken by the opinions of others. As Epictetus reminds us, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The Stoics understood that external rewards, money, status, recognition, are fleeting. What truly matters is whether your actions align with your deepest principles. Living according to your values isn't always easy. It requires self-discipline to resist temptations, clarity to distinguish between what truly matters and what is merely appealing, and courage to stand firm against societal expectations. It means making decisions not based on fear or fleeting desires, but on what will bring you lasting fulfillment. Think about the choices you face in your own life. Maybe it's staying in a job that drains you because it looks good on paper. Maybe it's maintaining relationships that no longer serve you out of obligation. Maybe it's following a path that others approve of, even when your heart tells you otherwise. The easy choice is to go along with the crowd, to let external forces dictate your path. But the strong choice, the Stoic choice, is to define success on your own terms and stand by it. When you succeed in living by your values, you find something far greater than wealth or recognition: peace of mind. You no longer seek validation from others to feel worthy. Every decision, from your career to your daily habits, reflects your principles and beliefs. And in doing so, you don't just build a meaningful life, you build an unshakable sense of self. That is the power of a strong mind, to choose authenticity over approval, integrity over illusion, and purpose over mere prosperity. 5. You're able to be your truest self. Imagine Liam walking into a social gathering where everyone seems to be performing, dressed in designer outfits, sharing exaggerated stories, carefully curating their words to impress. But Liam doesn't feel the need to play along. He wears something simple and comfortable, speaks honestly, and doesn't filter his personality to fit in. He isn't worried about whether others find him interesting, because he knows his worth isn't tied to their approval. In the same room there's Noah, constantly adjusting his behavior to match the crowd. He picks his words carefully, not based on what he believes, but on what he thinks others want to hear. He wears clothes that make a statement, not because he likes them, but because they fit the image he's trying to project. On the surface, he blends in perfectly, but deep down, he feels exhausted, disconnected from himself, and unsure of who he truly is. This is the difference between someone with a strong mind and someone controlled by external validation. A truly strong person understands that authenticity is the foundation of confidence. They don't need to mold themselves to fit societal expectations, because they know that real strength comes from embracing who they are, flaws and all. Stoic philosophy reminds us that no one knows you better than you know yourself. As Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. The world will always have opinions, but a strong mind isn't swayed by them. When you stop chasing approval and start living in alignment with your values, you gain something far more valuable than popularity: inner peace. Living authentically isn't always easy. The world pressures you to conform, to seek validation, to fit into expectations that aren't your own. But when you break free from that cycle, you experience true freedom, not in impressing others, but in knowing that every choice you make is genuinely yours. And in that authenticity, you don't just grow stronger, you become unshakable. 6. You have a strong sense of self-worth. Imagine a young woman named Emma. She notices that all her friends are obsessing over the latest fashion trend, expensive designer sneakers that everyone seems to be wearing. Social media is flooded with influencers showing them off, and her friends keep talking about how owning a pair makes them feel stylish and admired. But Emma doesn't feel the urge to follow along. She prefers wearing what makes her comfortable and confident, rather than chasing fleeting trends. She knows that her worth isn't defined by what's fashionable or how many compliments she receives. While others seek validation through external symbols, she understands that true confidence comes from within. Meanwhile, her friend Lily feels differently. She worries that if she doesn't buy the sneakers, she'll be seen as outdated or out of touch. So she spends money she doesn't really have just to fit in. For a brief moment, she enjoys the attention and approval from others. But soon, a new trend emerges, and the cycle begins again. No matter how many trends she follows, the feeling of fulfillment remains out of reach, because her self-worth depends on the ever-changing opinions of others. This is where Stoic philosophy offers profound wisdom. You don't need to change yourself to please the world, because your true value lies within you. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." A strong mind does not chase validation. It does not mold itself to fit societal expectations. It stands firm, rooted in self-awareness and personal integrity. Think about how much of our lives are shaped by the need for approval. People buy things they don't need, follow trends they don't truly care about, and even pursue careers or relationships that don't align with their true selves, all because they fear judgment. But the truth is, no amount of external recognition can ever replace inner confidence. When you possess a strong sense of self-worth, you no longer seek permission to be yourself. You understand that who you are is enough. You don't need expensive clothes, a certain body type, or social media validation to feel valuable. Your worth is defined by your character, your principles, and how you treat yourself and others, not by the opinions of people who may not even know the real you. This mindset brings true freedom. When you stop trying to prove yourself, you gain the space to live authentically. You focus on what truly matters: growth, purpose, and genuine connections, rather than constantly adjusting yourself to fit an image that society dictates. The world will always have expectations, but a strong mind remains unshaken. When you refuse to let external approval define your self-worth, you don't just become more confident, you become unstoppable. 7. You're a realistic optimist. Imagine David, who has just picked up a guitar for the first time. Excited, he strums a few chords, expecting to hear music, but instead, all he gets is a jumble of awkward buzzing sounds. His fingers ache, the chords feel impossible to reach, and frustration starts creeping in. For a moment, he wonders if he even has any musical talent at all. At this point, David faces a choice. He could fall into pessimism, telling himself he'll never be good, and quitting before he truly begins. Or he could swing to the other extreme, blind optimism, convincing himself that with just a few weeks of practice, he'll be playing like a professional. But both of these mindsets set people up for failure. The pessimist never gives himself a chance, while the blind optimist gets discouraged when progress isn't instant. Instead, David takes a third approach, one of realistic optimism. He acknowledges that improvement takes time and effort. He doesn't expect overnight success, but he also refuses to let failure discourage him. He sets small, achievable goals, learning to transition smoothly between 2 simple chords in a week, playing a basic song in a month. Day by day, practice by practice, his fingers grow stronger, his movements become smoother, and progress begins to show. Eventually, the sounds coming from his guitar aren't just noise anymore, they're music. This mindset, balancing hope with reality, is what sets apart those with strong minds from those who give up too soon or chase illusions. A realistic optimist doesn't deny difficulties, but also doesn't allow them to become roadblocks. Instead, they focus on what they can control, prepare for challenges, and trust in the power of steady effort. This approach extends far beyond learning an instrument. Imagine two people facing career setbacks. One allows failure to convince them they're not good enough. The other assumes success should come quickly and loses motivation when it doesn't. But the person with a realistic yet determined mindset understands that setbacks are part of the journey. They reflect, adapt, and continue pushing forward, knowing that while success isn't guaranteed overnight, perseverance always increases the odds. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we cannot control outcomes, but we can control our characters and mindset. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." A strong mind doesn't dwell on failure or indulge in wishful thinking. It stays grounded, adaptable, and resilient. When you approach life with realistic optimism, you don't just grow stronger through challenges, you learn to embrace the process itself. You understand that setbacks aren't signs to quit, but stepping stones to mastery. And in doing so, you cultivate not just perseverance, but also a deep and unshakable sense of fulfillment. That is the true power of a resilient and grounded mind. So, do you recognize these signs within yourself? Do you see the quiet strength of your own mind shaping the way you face life's challenges? Share your thoughts in the comments below with "Strength Within Me." We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you know someone who could use a little inspiration, pass this video along. Strength isn't something we're born with. It's something we cultivate, and sometimes all it takes is a shift in mindset to unlock it. If this video resonated with you, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more insights on building resilience, wisdom, and inner peace. Your journey to a stronger mind doesn't end here. Every lesson, every challenge, every moment of self-reflection brings you one step closer. Thank you for watching, and remember, true strength isn't about never falling. It's about rising every single time. Keep growing, keep learning, and most importantly, keep standing firm in who you are. See you in the next one, where we'll dive even deeper into the wisdom that shapes a powerful, unshakable mind.